Most of this life is just about fun, escaping all the suffering to find the fun. What's energy healing? I have in my notes energy healing question mark. What's that about?
Oh man. God, your audience are going to think I'm mad. So the two crazy things that happened to me, the one was
Yes.
the voice in the head that said you're going to win this tournament, and then I won the tournament. The other craziest thing that's happened to me was in 2018. I started getting this like weird problem in my ear where it was kind of like low frequency sound distortion, where voices, particularly men's voices, became incredibly unpleasant to listen to. It would like create this, it was like be falsely amplified or something, and it was almost like a physical sensation in my ear, which was really unpleasant. And it would like last for a few hours and then go away, and then come back for a few hours and go away. And I went and got hearing tests, and they found that like the bottom end, I was losing the hearing in that ear. And in the end, the doctor said they think it was this thing called Meniere's disease, which is this very unpleasant disease where people basically end up losing their hearing, but they get this like, it often comes with like dizzy spells and other things because it's like the inner ear gets all messed up. Now, I don't know if that's actually what I had, but that's what at least one doctor said to me. But anyway, so I'd had 3 months of this going on. And it was really getting me down. I was at Burning Man, of all places. I don't mean to be that person talking about Burning Man. But I was there. And again, I'd had it and I was unable to listen to music, which is not what you want because Burning Man is a very loud, intense place. And I was just having a really rough time. And on the final night, I get talking to this girl who's like a friend of a friend. And I mentioned, I was like, oh, I'm really down in the dumps about this. And she's like, oh, well, I've done a little bit of energy healing. Would you like me to have a look? And I was like, sure. Now, this was, again, deep. I was, no time in my life for this. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I was just like, it's all bullshit. It's all wooey nonsense. But I was like, sure, have a go. And she starts like with her hand and she says, oh, there's something there. And then she leans in and she starts like sucking over my ear, not actually touching me, but like close to it, like with her mouth. And it was really unpleasant. I was like, whoa, can you stop? She's like, no, there's something there. I need to get it. And I was like, no, I really don't like it. Please, this is really loud. She's like, I need to just bear with me. And she does it. And I don't know how long, for a few minutes. And then she eventually collapses on the ground, like freezing cold, crying. Not, and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, I'm like thoroughly freaked out, as is everyone else watching, just like, what the hell? And we like warm her up and she was like, what? She was really shaken up.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know what she said it was something very unpleasant and dark. Don't worry, it's gone. I think you'll be fine you'll have the physical symptoms for a couple of weeks and you'll be fine. But, she was like that, so I was so rattled, because the potential that actually I'd had something bad in me that made someone feel bad, and that she was scared. That was what, I was like, wait, I thought you do this is a thing. And now you're terrified, like you pulled like some kind of an exorcism or something. Like, what the fuck is going on? So it like just the most insane experience, and frankly it took me like a few months to sort of emotionally recover from it, but my ear problem went away about a couple of weeks later, and touch wood, I've not had any issues since. So
that gives you like hints that maybe there's something out there.
I mean, I don't have an explanation for this. The most probable explanation was I was at Burning Man. I was in a very open state. Let's just leave it at that. And placebo is an incredibly powerful thing and a very not understood thing. So
almost assigning the word placebo to it reduces it down to a way that it doesn't deserve to be reduced down. Maybe there's a whole science of what we call placebo. Maybe there's placebo is a door.
Self-healing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know what the problem was. Like, I was told it was Meniere's. I don't want to say I definitely had that because I don't want people to think that, oh, that's how, if they do have that, because it's a terrible disease, and if they have that this is going to be a guaranteed way for it to fix it for them. I don't know. And I also and you're absolutely right to say, like, using even the word placebo is like, it comes with this like baggage of like frame. and I don't want to reduce it down. All I can do is describe the experience and what happened. I cannot put an ontological framework around it. I can't say why it happened, what the mechanism was, what the problem even was in the first place. I just know that something crazy happened, and it was while I was in an open state. And fortunately for me, it made the problem go away. But what I took away from it, again, it was part of this, this took me on this journey of becoming more humble about what I think I know. Because as I said before, I was in the like Richard Dawkins train of atheism in terms of there is no God, there's everything like that is bullshit. We know everything. We know, the only way we can get through, we know how medicine works and its molecules and chemical interactions and that kind of stuff. And now it's like, okay, well, there's clearly more for us to understand. And that doesn't mean that it's ascientific as well, because, the beauty of the scientific method is that it still can apply to this situation. Like, I don't see why, I would like to try and test this experimentally. I haven't really, I don't know how we would go about doing that. We'd have to find other people with the same condition, I guess, and like try and repeat the experiment. But it doesn't, just because something happens that's sort of out of the realms of our current understanding, it doesn't mean that the scientific method can't be used for it.
Yeah, I think the scientific method sits on a foundation of those kinds of experiences, because scientific method is a process to carve away at the mystery all around us. And experiences like this is just a reminder that we're mostly shrouded in mystery still. That's it. It's just like a humility. Like, we haven't really figured this whole thing out.
But at the same time, we have found ways to act. We're clearly doing something right, because think of the technological, scientific advancements, the knowledge that we have that would blow people's minds even from 100 years ago.
Yeah, and we've even allegedly gone out to space and landed on the moon. Although I have not seen evidence of the Earth being round, but I'm keeping an open mind. Speaking of which, you studied physics and astrophysics. Just to go to that, just to jump around through the fascinating life you've had. How did that come to be? Like, when did you fall in love with astronomy and space and things like this?
As early as I can remember. I was very lucky that my mum and my dad, but particularly my mum, my mum is like the most nature. She is Mother Earth. It's the only way to describe her. She's like Dr. Dolittle. Animals flock to her and just like sit and look at her adoringly
as she sings.
Yeah, she just is Mother Earth, and she has always been fascinated by, she doesn't have any, she never went to university or anything like that. She's actually phobic of maths. If I try and get her to I was trying to teach her poker and she hated it. But she's so deeply curious. And that just got instilled in me when, we would sleep out under the stars whenever it was, the 2 nights a year when it was warm enough in the UK to do that. And we would just lie out there until we fell asleep, looking for satellites, looking for shooting stars. And I was just always, I don't know whether it was from that, but I've always naturally gravitated to the biggest questions, and also the most layers of abstraction. I love just what's the meta question, and so on. So I think it just came from that, really. And then on top of that, physics, it also made logical sense in that it was a degree that, well, a subject that ticked the box of being, answering these really big picture questions, but is also extremely useful. It has a very high utility. In terms of, I didn't know necessarily. I thought I was going to become a research scientist. My original plan was I want to be a professional astronomer.
So it's not just a philosophy degree that asks the big questions, and it's not like biology and the path to go to medical school or something like that, which is overly pragmatic. Not overly, is very
more
pragmatic.
On the pragmatic side.
But this is physics is a good combination of the two.
Yeah, at least for me, it made sense, and I was good at it. I liked it. I mean, it wasn't like I did an immense amount of soul searching to choose it or anything. It just was this. It made the most sense. I mean, you have to make this decision in the UK age 17, which is crazy. Because in US, you go the first year, you do a bunch of stuff, right? And then you choose your major.
Yeah, I think the first few years of college, you focus on the drugs, and only as you get closer to the end, do you start to think, "Oh shit, this wasn't about that," and I owe the government a lot of money. How many alien civilizations are out there? When you looked up at the stars with your mom and you were counting them, what's your mom think about the number of alien civilizations?
I actually don't know. I would imagine she would take the viewpoint of, she's pretty humble, and she knows there's a huge number of potential spawn sites out there, so she would.
Spawn sites?
Spawn sites, yeah. Well, this is our spawn
sites.
Yeah, spawn sites in Polytopia. We spawned on Earth, it's.
Yeah, spawn sites. Why does that feel weird to say spawn? Because it makes me feel like it's there's only one source of life and it's spawning in different locations. That's why the word spawn. Because it feels like life that originated on Earth really originated here.
Right. It is unique to this particular. Yeah, I mean, but I don't. In my mind, it doesn't exclude, the completely different forms of life and different biochemical soups can't also spawn. But I guess it implies that there's some spark that is uniform, which I kind of like the idea of. It's
And then I get to think about respawning, like after it dies. Like, what happens if life on Earth ends? Is it going to restart again?
Probably not. It depends.
Yeah, maybe Earth is.
It depends on the type of what's the thing that kills it off, right? If it's a paperclip maximizer, not that for the example, but some kind of very self-replicating, high on the capabilities, very low on the wisdom type thing. Yeah. So whether that's gray goo, green goo, like nanobots, or just a shitty misaligned AI that thinks it needs to turn everything into paperclips. If it's something like that, then it's going to be very hard for life, complex life, because by definition, a paperclip maximizer is the ultimate instantiation of Moloch. Deeply low complexity, over optimization on a single thing, sacrificing everything else, turning the whole world into.
Although something tells me, like, if we actually take a paperclip maximizer, it destroys everything. It's a really dumb system that just envelops the whole of Earth
and the universe beyond. Yeah.
I didn't know that part, but okay, great.
That's the thought experiment.
It becomes a multiplanetary paperclip maximizer.
Well, it just propagates. I mean, it depends whether it figures out how to jump the vacuum gap. But again, I mean, this is all silly because it's a hypothetical thought experiment, which I think doesn't actually have much practical application to the AI safety problem, but it's just a fun thing to play around with. But if by definition it is maximally intelligent, which means it is maximally good at navigating the environment around it in order to achieve its goal, but extremely bad at choosing goals in the first place. So again, we're talking on this orthogonality thing, right? It's very low on wisdom, but very high on capability. Then it will figure out how to jump the vacuum gap between planets and stars and so on, and thus just turn every atom it gets its hands on into paperclips.
Yeah. By the way, for people who
which is maximum virality, by the way. That's what virality is.
But it does not mean that virality is necessarily all about maximizing paperclips. In that case, it is. So for people who don't know, this is just a thought experiment example of an AI system that has a goal and is willing to do anything to accomplish that goal, including destroying all life on Earth and all human life and all of consciousness in the universe for the goal of producing a maximum number of paperclips. Okay.
Or whatever its optimization function was that it was set at.
But don't you think...
It could be recreating Lexes. Maybe it'll tile the universe in Lexes.
Go on. I like this idea. No, I'm just kidding.
That's better. That's more interesting than paperclips.
That could be infinitely optimal if I were to say so myself. If you ask me,
it's still a bad thing because it's permanently capping what the universe could ever be. It's like that's its end state.
Or achieving the optimal that the universe could ever achieve. But that's up to different people have different perspectives on this. But don't you think within the paperclip world that would emerge, just like in the zeros and ones that make up a computer, that would emerge beautiful complexities? Like it won't suppress, as you scale to multiple planets and throughout, there'll emerge these little worlds that on top of the fabric of maximizing paperclips, there will be that would emerge like little societies of paperclip.
Well, then we're not describing a paperclip maximizer anymore, because if you think of what a paperclip is, it is literally just a piece of bent iron.
Yes.
Right. So if it's maximizing that throughout the universe, it's taking every atom it gets its hand on into, somehow turning it into iron or steel, and then bending it into that shape, and then done and done. By definition, like paperclips, there is no way for, well, okay, so you're saying that paperclips somehow will just emerge and create through gravity or something.
No. Because there's a dynamic element to the whole system. It's not just, it's creating those paperclips. And the act of creating, there's going to be a process. And that process will have a dance to it. Because it's not like sequential thing. There's a whole complex 3-dimensional system of paperclips. People like string theory, right? It's supposed to be strings that are interacting in fascinating ways. I'm sure paperclips are very string-like. They can be interacting in very interesting ways as you scale exponentially through 3-dimensional. I mean, I'm sure the paperclip maximizer has to come up with a theory of everything. It has to create like wormholes, right? It has to break it has to understand quantum mechanics.
I love your optimism. This is where I'd say we're going into the realm of pathological optimism, whereby it's.
I'm sure there will be I think there's an intelligence that emerges from that system.
So you're saying that basically intelligence is inherent in the fabric of reality and will find a way. Kind of like Goldblum says, life will find a way. You think life will find a way, even out of this perfectly homogeneous dead soup.
It's not perfectly homogeneous. It's perfectly maximal in the production. I don't know why people keep thinking it's homogeneous. It maximizes the number of paperclips. That's the only thing. It's not trying to be homogeneous. It's trying to maximize paperclips.
So you're saying that because kind of like in the Big Bang, or it seems like things, there were clusters, there was more stuff here than there. That was enough of the patternicity that kickstarted the evolutionary process.
It's the little weirdnesses that will make it beautiful.
Out of
complexity emerges.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so how does that line up then with the whole heat death of the universe, right? Because that's another sort of instantiation of this. It's like everything becomes so far apart and so cold and so perfectly mixed that it's like homogeneous grayness. Mm-hmm. Do you think that even out of that homogeneous grayness, where there's no negative entropy, that there's no free energy that we understand, even from that new stuff?
The paperclip maximizer or any other intelligence systems will figure out ways to travel to other universes, to create big bangs within those universes, or through black holes to create whole other worlds, to break what we consider the limitations of physics. the paperclip maximizer will find a way, if a way exists, and we should be humble to realize that we don't.
But because it just wants to make more paperclips, so it's going to go into those universes and turn them into paperclips.
Yeah, but we humans, not humans, but complex system exists on top of that. We're not interfering with it. This complexity emerges from
the simple base state.
The simple base state.
Whether it's Planck lengths or paperclips as the base unit.
Yeah, you can think of like the universe as a paperclip maximizer because it's doing some dumb stuff. Like physics seems to be pretty dumb. It has I don't know if you can summarize it.
The laws are fairly basic, and yet out of them amazing complexity emerges.
And its goals seem to be pretty basic and dumb. If you can summarize its goals, I mean, I don't know what's a nice way. Maybe laws of thermodynamics could be good. I don't know if you can assign goals to physics, but if you formulate in the sense of goals, it's very similar to paperclip maximizing in the dumbness of the goals. But the pockets of complexity as emerge is where beauty emerges. That's where life emerges. That's where intelligence. That's where humans emerge. And I think we're being very down on this whole paperclip maximizer thing. Now, the reason we hate it...
I think, because what you're saying is that you think that the force of emergence itself is another, like, unwritten, not unwritten, but like another baked-in law of reality.
Yeah.
And you're trusting that emergence will find a way to, even out of seemingly the most awful plain outcome, emergence will still find a way. I love that as a philosophy. I think it's very nice. I would wield it carefully because there's large error bars on that and the certainty of that.
And how about we build the paperclip maximizer and find out?
Classic. Yeah. Moloch is doing cartwheels, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it will destroy humans in the process, which is the reason we really don't like it. We seem to be really holding on to this whole human civilization thing.